Will photons ever be affected by the Higgs field? No. Was math invented or discovered? Neither.
Hey,
Hi, how are you?
I'm right. So, if nobody knows what's before the singularity, um, why are you an atheist?
Because being an atheist has nothing to do with caring about the Big Bang or not. The Big Bang could be false or true, and yet I still be an atheist
Why?
because there's no evidence for God.
But but if we can't prove that he exists or that he doesn't exist, why not remain neutral?
I am.
Oh, oh, damn. So okay, so would we ever know what's before the Big Bang?
Maybe it's possible. You definitely don't. We definitely. Nobody definitely doesn't. Religion definitely doesn't.
Oh. So, do you think it's possible a god could exist?
What do you mean by God? There's a myriad of possible definitions.
Something that created the universe.
Nothing's created, so I don't know what that even means. What do you mean by create?
Create.
From nothing or create from something? What do you mean by create?
Like basically creating out of nothing.
I don't think that's possible, sir.
How come?
Well, it seems that something has energy and nothingness has nothing. So, by definition, how do you get some causal mechanism from sheer nothing? I think that seems logically incoherent to me.
So if a god exists, do you think something had to have created them?
Again, these are very bad questions. You're asking very primitive questions because what do you mean by God? You haven't defined that yet.
The Christian god.
You're just asking very elementary questions because you don't understand what you're actually saying.
The Christian god.
Okay, what is that? What's a Christian God? Is it loving? Is it to me? There's lots of issues with that, right? We can talk about that, but this is not a debate, right? This is a science live.
Okay.
So do you have any actual science questions or
Science
for us
questions.
again?
Yes. So what's a singularity?
So point at which all of our physics and mathematics and equations are unable to um, apply to the universe, right? It's where we don't. It's where all of our knowledge breaks down. We no longer understand what happens past that point with modern physics.
What about the black hole?
Same thing. We don't know what happens inside a black hole. They also have singularities. We don't know what happens. That's all a singularity means is we just don't know what happens. That's all it means.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, thanks for answering my question.
Yeah. Have a good day. What is photosynthesis? Well, it's when a cell is able to take in photons from the sun. They're also able to take up CO2 from the atmosphere and water. And what happens is these reactants produce oxygen and also sugars, which then give rise to energy for metabolism. So they kind of metabolize their own um, food in their bodies and their cells. Well, sadly, we don't have enough people in here today. Any other questions? Do you think physics will be similar today without Isaac Newton? No, absolutely not. Isaac Newton is still used today. So what that tells us, Isaac Newton's mechanics, laws of gravity, are still used today in school. We learn in school still today. And that tells me that if Isaac Newton didn't exist, there would be nobody else to really do it, probably. We'd probably be clueless. Or there'd be some other way of gravity. Now, this is not my only account, but I want to boost this account up. I need more followers on this account. I want to get to 10K, and I'll be posting more in this one. But I have 3 accounts that can go live, so why does momentum increase when an object in motion turns instead of decrease? Momentum increase. I don't know. I would think it's because of the Higgs field. Particles typically, I could be wrong, but yeah, I wouldn't. I'm just gonna say I don't know, but that's a good question. I would think it has to do with fundamental fields. What are your thoughts about the TikTok ban? It's not gonna happen. Hello, how are you? What is dark energy? Dark energy is gravity, but it's evil twin. Gravity has this attractive force to it, right? It attracts things, like this bottle falling to the ground. Gravity's pulling things down towards the earth or towards any object that has mass. So that gravity is a property of space and time, right? Space and time warping. But dark energy is, instead of an attractive force that attracts things together, dark energy repels things from one another. It's like the anti-gravity. So if I had dark energy in this room, I had enough of it. If I threw this bottle in the air, it would go up. If I dropped this bottle, it would go up with an acceleration, right? It would go up with faster and faster speed. Same with gravity. Opposite speaking, gravity wants to pull things down with an accelerating speed. Dark energy, things would be repelled from you and with an accelerating speed. So let's apply this force to the universe as a whole. You put a bunch of dark energy in the universe, what's going to happen? Space and time itself is going to want to repel from itself and kind of stretch apart and pull apart. So we think that space and time is full of this dark energy, such that the universe is going to stretch apart. And that's what we're seeing, right? What we see is the universe being stretched. And dark energy is a cause. What happens if dark energy meets gravity? Great question. Well, it would meet matter, right? Dark energy is full. Think of dark energy like a cloud in the universe. It's full of stuff in the universe. The universe is full of this stuff, right? But then think of matter like chunks of stuff. So the universe, the dark energy is going to pull apart the universe, but this matter is going to want to pull it together, right? So there's these two balancing forces. Now, when the universe was tiny, right, there was a little bit of matter, so it was able to expand very quickly because there was no matter in the way that had mass. But then as the universe got older, the universe expanded, matter started to clump together, matter started to precipitate, causing the universe to slow down in acceleration. That was about 6 billion years ago. I'm sorry, about 10 billion years ago. Now the universe is starting to speed up again. As the universe expands a bit more, matter is diluting, speeding so much more spread apart. So as matter dilutes in the universe, as the universe continues to expand, it's actually getting faster and faster as the matter, all the galaxies, all the clouds, they all dilute away. Now that's the current model. There could be some other explanation. And it seems like there are some flaws in this, because what we're seeing now is dark energy is slowing down. It's decaying, actually. We used to think that dark energy was always conserved. Now it's possible that dark energy decays faster than we thought. And perhaps the universe will collapse again shortly. It could do that. It's possible. So we're not for sure, but that's typically what dark energy is. It's an attempt to explain why the universe is expanding so rapidly. Okay. Is it possible the universe could collapse now? Yes, anything's possible. The universe could collapse right now. We'd all be dead. It's also possible for the universe to basically implode at any given moment, because fluctuations happen all the time randomly, and they're rare. Certain fluctuations that would cause the universe to collapse are very, very rare, but given enough time, it's very possible for that type of fluctuation to kind of collapse the universe again. And we wouldn't even know. That's the scary part. We wouldn't even know if it happened. So, all right, let me block this guy here because he's very annoying. Stop pinning who's pinning these dumb comments? Stop doing that, please. Who is pinning those comments? Don't do that. Do you really only use an absurdly small amount of our brain at a time? No, we use all of our brain all the time. Unless you're a Christian. How did races begin? Races don't exist. There is no such thing as race. If you're talking about, skin colors, and yeah, sure, those are real, but the likely reason why is because as humans left Africa, migrated into colder territories, further in latitude, such that the sun would be small, the sun rays would be less intensive, we needed to utilize the sun more. And the way to do that is through white skin. White skin allows your body to absorb more vitamin D versus somebody who has darker skin, right? So it's plausible that people who had white skin, which is a very common genetic phenotypical trait to have, their skin would allow them to survive better in northern latitudes because they would get more vitamin D. They would be more healthier. They would live longer, enough to reproduce, and that's typically what happened. And there's many more reasons why, but that's just one of the major reasons. It's just a theory, not proven. What do you mean it's just a theory? What's a theory? Evolution is a fact. We can literally see it happening.
Yo, um, I gotta say, I saw your debate with Parker a while back about that whole vegan teacher thing. Um, I just wanted to say real quick that, like, while it is just a word, it is a word rooted in like hatred, I guess. Like, it's not. It was a word made of a mockery of an indigenous group of people. So it's not like just saying damn or shit, where one just means
I
poop.
know that. I know that.
Then why did you, bro? And why did you argue that it was just a word, bro? Like, I mean,
Well, what I argued was that all words are just words. But I'm not saying that to be rude. I understand there's lots of baggage behind that word. But the point is that technically speaking, words don't mean anything intrinsically, they have usages. So
unless you make up words that intrinsically mean something, like the N word.
words do not have any intrinsic meaning, they're just
They,
words. That's the
if
point.
they're, bro, but like they are words, but like excitation voltage isn't just words. It is something describing something. Like it's not like, how can I?
Yeah, exactly. They're descriptive. They're not intrinsically valuable as words. They have no meaning. They're just symbols, right? They're just
Right,
squiggly
but you,
lines on a page. I understand. Look, I understand the N word is a very bad word, and I would never say it. Of course, I would never say it because it would be
well, yeah,
irresponsible and offensive. But the
but
point
it is.
is that technically speaking, linguistically speaking, words don't have intrinsic meanings. We use them
I'm
in certain ways. Now, I think that using that word in most contexts is bad and irresponsible for at
What do you
least.
mean most contexts? Like,
Well, for example, if somebody has Tourette syndrome and they split out
well, I
that
don't think they're
word,
just
well,
using the. I don't think they're using the
that's
word. I
not going
think
to
they're
be bad,
saying
right?
it.
That's not going to be something bad, right? Do you agree?
No, yeah, I have a friend with Tourette's, and they're not using it; they're saying it.
Exactly.
And there's
Exactly.
a thing with, we were saying words with intrinsic meaning, but so
Words don't
let's
have
take a look.
intrinsic meaning.
Let's do a little like mental exercise here. Let's say I make up a word that has never existed before. Like, let's pretend the word booger has never existed before. I just made it up on the spot. It's never existed in any book. And then it's a derogatory term towards people with very small noses or something. That is intrinsically harmful to people with small noses because it was conceived with malintent. Do you
No,
see that?
it wouldn't be intrinsically harmful. It would be inherently, contextually inherently harmful based on the context, based on the culture, the society that holds that stigma against that word. Um, but but intrinsically speaking, right? All
But if
else
I
equal, everything erased around it. It's isolated on its own. Words are just words.
right, but if I make a word with out of malintent with malintent,
Yes, I
then
agree.
it's not
I
just
agree
a
that
word.
you have now loaded that word with baggage, which should not be used. In that context, I
No,
absolutely agree. Period.
because it's not like, it's not just like a word like the or she, where
It
it's just
is,
like a
but
part of our
intrinsically it
language.
is. But intrinsically it is, right?
It is
Look,
it is a slur which is not part of a language. It is derogatory.
I understand it's a slur, sir, but that's not the point. My point is that although we think it's a slur, and we know it's a slur based on the context that we are living in, on its own, isolated, the word is just a bunch of squiggly lines on a piece of paper. Just like every other word, they don't have meanings. Intrinsically speaking, they have usages, and the way we use them in our society is something I will never use. Okay, in that context.
So you're saying intrinsic and inherent like they mean different things. They are literally synonyms. Um, and
No,
intrinsic
no,
means
they're not.
belonging naturally.
Yeah,
Josh
they're
P, the debate is the N word and how it is intrinsically and inherently bad in all forms of usage but
It's
not
not absolutely
necessarily.
bad though. It is not absolutely bad.
I mean, but and
It's just subjectively, right? We
no, it's
in our
not
society
subjective
we think
because
it's bad.
it was made as a mockery.
I
It's
I
not
I
subjective.
I know that. I understand that. But the point remains. My point still stands that isolated on its own, it's just a word. What matters is the context you use it in. That's it.
But it's not.
And and and
It's
and
not
if you
just a
don't
word that
understand
you
this,
can use in any.
I know you guys. I know you guys want to call me racist and call me bad
No,
names, but
I'm not trying to call you racist. I'm.
okay,
That's not
great.
what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to like.
Why are you so why are you so contentious about this?
I think you defended a point that came off as racist, and I think that with such a large audience watching, it really created a negative
Yeah, that's
overall.
not my fault that people are watching or not educated on this. Right? Just because people don't understand the philosophy of the language doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. Like that's
It's
ridiculous.
it's not so much as philosophy of language, like using words that are predicated on other usages. Like the only time you would use a slur is in describing the thing you are slurring. There's no. It's not like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna take a quick N word or over
That's
the bridge,"
yeah,
as though it's a similar word for jog or something. It's not.
yeah. I agree that in most contexts is that using that word is likely going to be used as a slur in a negative way. And but what the vegan teacher was trying to do was trying to put an acronym towards the word to make it seem like it was good, like
Brother, I think.
to make it seem like to put a positive spin on it.
Yeah, I think
That
she just took a fat L for doing that, though.
although that was wrong in my view, it's not racist. It was not a racist thing she did. So that's the problem, right? There is no racism there at all. So
Well, I mean, you're using an acronym of a slur to try to put a positive spin on it,
okay,
when the
is that
best
do you think
positive
that's
spin would
racist? Do you
just
think
be
that's
not to
racist or
use
just
it.
irresponsible? There's a difference.
Did you hear what I said all the way through?
Can you answer? Is she racist for doing that?
I don't think that the vegan teacher is racist for doing that, but I think that
Okay,
what
great.
she did was racist in a sense.
What? She's not
Yeah.
either. She is racist or she's not racist, right? Is she racist? Yes or no?
I don't think she's intrinsically racist. I think.
Yeah.
Nah, bro. I don't think she's racist, bro. I don't think she's
Look.
going around calling people of color slurs because she dislikes them because of how much
Exactly.
melanin is in their skin.
That's the point I was trying to raise. But well, of course, those people on
Then why
that
didn't you
live
raise
all called
that,
her
bro?
racist. Cole, please. Everybody on that live called her a racist. They even called me a racist. I think that was irresponsible. Yes, the vegan teacher was irresponsible too, but that doesn't give them the right to call me or other people racist. I think that was extremely irresponsible of them to do. And yeah, that's all. That's it. It ends there. There's no more discussion. I'm tired of this stupid stuff. Learn the philosophy of language. All right. Mike, you're the biggest lover of TikTok. I don't know why people connect with you. What? The ghost of Chase Haggard compels you. Oh, people think Chase got me, right? Can you explain where nominalism is incorrect? Can you explain that? Can you explain why he was correct and I was wrong? Oh, you can't. Okay, yeah. All right, let's go to the next. Can you explain B theory? B theory just means time is a fourth dimension of the universe, and there's no tense time. There's no past or future in the terms of passing of time. All the time kind of just exists. The future and the past, they all exist simultaneously in this kind of structure. It doesn't change, doesn't move. Time doesn't move. Racist off the charts. Chase made you piss yourself. Oh, can you explain where he destroyed me, Zay? Can you do that? Can you explain where he was right and I was wrong and where he got me? Can you give the argument for that? Oh, you can't. That's right. He destroyed you. Where? Where did he destroy me? Can you guys give the argument? Can you give the argument? I'll be waiting for it. You could come up and get me on that argument. Can you do it? Can you guys do it? Can you do it? Can you guys give the argument? Stop saying I got cooked and can you give the argument? Can you give the argument? Right? Because this happens all the time when I debate people. Oh, he cooked you. He cooked you. You guys sound like robots. Give the actual argument, right? Give the actual argument where I got cooked. Do it. You guys keep saying I got cooked. Anybody can say that. That's easy. Look, I can say I cooked him. I cooked him. I cooked him. That doesn't do anything, though. That doesn't win anything. I'm asking you for the actual argument. Can you give the logical syllogism that debunks nominalism? Can you do that? Can you guys do that? Can you guys give the argument? Oh, yeah, you're not going to do it, right? You guys are like robots. You got cooked. You got cooked. You got cooked. You guys sound like robots. Give the argument or go away. You're just wasting our time by saying I got cooked. Remember the movie I, Robot, where he's in the room and all the robots are there. He's like, which one of you guys did it? One of us. One of us. That's how you guys sound to me right now. One of us. Okay, anyway. Oh, we got some people up here.
Hey, Mike, I had a question about the B theory of time. And I was wondering if it's more so that time is just not real or that time is an illusion and it's all existing at once.
Time is real.
Okay, so it's just an illusion, right? Like
No,
it's
the passage of time is an illusion, right?
yeah.
The notion that
time
time
is real.
passes, that's an illusion. But time itself is a real thing. It's just not tensed.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what I was asking. All right, so yeah, so in the B theory of time, it kind of states that the past, present, and future is all existing at once, right?
It exists as a structure all at once, simultaneously. Yeah.
Simultaneously, right? So it's all existing at once, right? So would you kind of say that like the future has already like foretold, or it's already there?
Yeah, it would imply determinism.
Yeah, so it would kind of be like a prophecy, right? In a way.
What?
A
No.
prophecy in a prophecy in a way that your future is already foretold.
Okay, yes, I think the future would be determined in this scenario, although not necessarily, but yes. What's your point? What's your question?
So my point is that if the B theory of time is true, why wouldn't you go walk out in the street blindfolded? Because you know that your future is already foretold. Your future's already foretold, but you wouldn't go do that.
Well, I would just be determined to do that and die. That'd be ridiculous, right?
No, it wouldn't be, because
I would just be determined to do that.
No, because technically,
you're not thinking two-dimensionally. You're thinking
yes,
one-dimensionally.
because look, if
you have to listen to me. Shh. I know you think you have a gotcha here, but just listen.
No, I don't. I'm just trying to tell you.
Okay, great. So then listen. Although it is the case that action would be that I could choose to go outside and put a blindfold on and do that, but that itself would also be determined. That would also be part of the determined universe.
Okay, so like this is kind of what I'm saying.
Determinism, right?
Okay, this is kind of what I'm saying, right? So technically, if the future's already foretold, then you already would be dead already, basically, because if the future's already there, then that
No,
means
no, I
no,
wouldn't.
because
No, but that's because those things didn't happen yet. Until they happen,
they're
they will
existing,
happen.
but they haven't happened,
They're existing in another coordinate of the universe.
but they're non-existent
They're,
to us.
look, do you think that when I say there's no tense time, I don't mean that the future is happening right now here in my room. What I'm saying is that
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying
time
either.
is another. We can view time as another dimension, not here in my room, but in another dimension where we're moving into.
No, yeah, I'm not saying either that we're just
It
looking at a
seems from our
screen and we
perspective.
can see the. That's
It
not
seems
what I'm
from our
saying.
perspective that we're moving into the future, but that future would be another dimension, another part of our, another coordinate in the universe, kind of like a block, right? Ever hear of the block universe where all the time is there? That's the point. That's the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and that I'm not saying either. Like, I'm not saying that, oh, we just look at a screen and we can see the past, present, and future all at once. No, that would be stupid. But what I'm saying is that if your future already exists and somewhere, right? The future already exists somewhere, then technically you are already dead.
There is somewhere in the universe where
Yes.
yes, there is a person who looks like me and I'm dead. Yes.
So then
And
why would it? So then
the same applies to everybody.
So then why wouldn't you? Why do you feel that you can't? That walking out in the street blindfolded would alter it?
It wouldn't.
Because if you're already dead,
nothing would alter
somewhere,
it. Nothing would alter it. That would just be part of the. That would just be part of the deterministic
already
world.
dead somewhere, some way. Then how? You're lagging for me. I don't know if anybody.
We're just
else,
that's
or
just
it's
not
just
our
me.
coordinate
Hold
of the
on.
universe, right? Look, in the 4D Bach
I can see it
universe,
now.
in the 4D Bach universe, you can imagine an infinite number of me's, an infinite number of me's. Like for example, every time I move my hand, from our perspective, we don't see the time dimension. We see it flowing like this. But from a 4D block model, there's a bunch of infinite hands like this, stacked upon each other, stacked. That is the reality we may live in, right? So the point is that there's an infinite number of me's out there, and there's a me where I'm dead. There's a me where I'm particles floating around. There's a me where I'm a baby, all in this 4D structure. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, but if everything is an illusion, then doesn't that mean it's just an infinite number of illusions, just continuously?
Well, I never said everything's
Yeah.
illusion. What I said was the passage
no,
of time
yeah.
is an illusion.
The passage of time, right? So that means that the past, present, and future is all an illusion, correct?
It's an illusion in terms of it passing by us. The ticking of time is an illusion, but time itself is a very real thing.
Yeah. Okay. So, but then wouldn't that mean that every event is just an illusion off of another illusion off of another illusion?
No, I don't know. I don't know why you're not getting this. When I say it's an illusion, it doesn't actually mean like, oh, it's all just fake. What it means is it's not fundamental. There's no fundamental feature of the universe that says time must be passing. That seems to be what our brains are doing. But again, reality is not an illusion, right? Things actually exist around us. It's just that time is not passing. And that's all. I don't think you quite understand what I'm telling you.
No, I get what you're saying is that the passage of time is an illusion, not time itself. I get what you're saying.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just that's just my few questions because it kind of falls into like infinite regress theory.
No, it doesn't, because first of all, infinite regression is very possible. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's not.
Why is it impossible for the universe to be
It's
infinite?
impossible because if infinite regression was true, then there would never be a point that becomes actualized.
No, everything already is actualized.
No, but if infinite regression was true,
No, everything already is actualized in the future of time.
Sure. So since everything is actualized, that actually proves that infinite regression is false.
No, it doesn't, because
yes, it does, Mike.
No, it
Yes,
doesn't.
Yes,
Look, Chris.
Yes, it does, Mike.
Chris, do you think a block or a cube could be infinitely long?
No, I don't think so. Because you can never reach a point where
No,
it's
no, no.
infinite.
That's not what I asked you,
No,
sir. We're
no,
not reaching a point, Chris.
I'm
Answer this
yes,
question.
yes.
Is it possible for a cube to be infinitely long or in depth?
Sure, it's a possibility. Anything's possible.
Great. So
Yeah.
just like a cube is infinitely long, so can our 4D universe be infinitely long. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but okay. So one, that would mean that the universe exists out of the necessity of its own nature. Okay.
Okay.
And two, that would also mean that that it's just past prior causes and causes, right? There would never be a point where it would like actualize. Like, can I give you like an analogy? It like for example, okay, like how many seconds would it take you to jump rope 10 times? Like 10
Again,
seconds, right?
again, under the B theory, there is no passing of time.
No, but okay,
in
but
seconds.
just hear me out what I'm saying.
No,
though,
you're not
okay?
understanding, Chris.
No,
There's a
no, I get
fundamental
what you're saying. I do.
No, you don't. Because if you did, you never asked that question. I'm gonna try one more time for you, buddy.
No, it's an analogy on infinite
You're
regression.
not
No.
understanding.
No.
You have to go learn. Look, I'm not saying that you're ignorant here. Well, you are, but I'm not saying you're dumb. What I'm
Alright.
saying is you have to go back and research a little bit more, because in the B theory of time there is no passing. So when you say how many times can you jump rope in seconds, 10 seconds? Well, there is no passing of seconds in the B theory. Seconds have already happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, and I get that. The reason why I brought up seconds, right, was because I was saying that when I said that nothing would become actualized, I'm using time, right, as we would never get to a point in time where something would be created or actualized.
We're not getting to points. That's exactly the problem with your
But
your
no,
question.
I get that.
We're not getting to points. We're not actually moving through time.
I know I'm using time I'm not using time like I'm not using it in that way. I'm using it in like, I'm just saying like this conversation that we're having would never have happened if infinite regression is true.
What? No, why?
Because it would just be this is why I wanted to give you a jump rope analogy, but you went all on time and stuff. I wanted to okay, so I'm just gonna skip ahead to it, right? So even if you had like an infinite amount of time, you could never reach an infinite number of times, right? Of jump roping, right? So you can never reach that point where you're like, okay, I'm done. So infinite regression would just presuppose
this is question begging the A theory. Yeah, you're smuggling in the A theory into your answer.
It's not.
Yes, you are, because you would never stop talking about jumping rope. That would not happen.
It's an analogy, Mike. Come on.
Well, it's not analogous because there is no such analogy where you can make the B theory say that there's passage of time, right? By definition, B theory discludes passing of time, meaning time can be like a static block, just like a cube can be infinitely long, time can be infinitely long, and any passage of time is an illusion. That's it. Any passage. The conversation we're having, that passing of time is an illusion by the brain for many reasons. But fundamentally speaking, all of time already exists, and it could be that could be the case. And I don't know why you're so being so contentious.
Well, okay, so first off, I do respect you, and I'm vegan too, so I respect what you do. So yeah, but I'm not trying to be anyway. But I just came up here to ask that because I understand what you're saying about time, and I actually watched your video on what is time on YouTube. So I actually did watch that, so I understand what you're saying, but I'm not using time as like, I'm not saying like a point, right? Because if infinite regression was true, like if something's infinite, there's no end, right? There's no end. There's no place where you stop. So if it's infinite, then we would never get to the point where we would just be here. It would just always keep going.
Again, there is no such thing as being here, coming to be here. That doesn't happen in the B theory. Your question's malformed.
Okay, so what are we doing right now? Like
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Why do we happen to feel like we're in this position? Well, again, it's because of what the brain's doing. It's an illusion of the brain. We don't exactly know why, but the point is we can view all of time like this, where there's bunches of me's that are stacked upon each other in this weird 4D block. And it only seems like we're moving through time because of neurochemical processes. It's very strange, but possible.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for talking to me. I'm definitely gonna go look more into it, but I do want to come up again
Great.
one day and
Good.
try and refute you for sure. But thank
Great.
you though.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to just sort of say that Darth Dawkins wants to debate you again, apparently. But also, what do you think about living in a black hole? Like, sort of existing beyond the event horizon and, like, just sort of being like our universe or like our sort of local universe being inside of the black hole? Like, what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, it's possible. It's not, there's no consensus as to what happens inside a black hole, but it's possible that our universe is inside of a large black hole. If we calculate the mass of a
Mhm.
black hole with all the mass in our universe,
Yeah, for
it would
sure.
actually
Can I?
come out to be that it would actually come out to be the size of our universe, a
Mhm.
bit bigger, but it fits exactly the dimensions fit together perfectly. Also, it actually would make more sense if it was a white hole that we were living in, because things are moving from the singularity outwards. So a white hole would make more sense. But it's
Would
also possible that inside a black hole, you get led to another part of the universe, or possibly another entirely new universe through quantum tunneling or quantum jumping. It's very weird what happens, but the singularity gets ever increasingly smaller, thinner, smaller to the quantum level, and then from there, quantum mechanics takes over, and you kind of jump into another realm through a white hole or a black hole. So they're kind of connected in a way. Inside a black hole might be the end of a black hole might be the beginning of a white hole.
So essentially like a wormhole sort of thing?
Yeah,
Okay,
but
so
it's a bit different. But yes, it's essentially a hole through space and time.
okay, so like I'm not really like I'm more into computer science, right? So I'm not that like well versed in like physics or theoretical physics. So when you say quantum tunneling, like so when we say a singularity, right? To me that just seems like some sort of like mathematical problem where something is like infinitely dense, or sort of like explanations or ways of calculating certain things just like completely collapse or sort of fail at a certain point. It doesn't necessarily mean it's like a singularity, or like in the way that people take it to
It's
be a
not an object.
singularity.
Yeah, it's not an object.
Yeah,
It's just where our mathematics breaks down in the classical
yeah.
sense. But in quantum mechanics, we could understand a black hole. It's just that we don't have a gravity equation for quantum mechanics. It's hard to kind of meld them
Unify
together.
it. Yeah.
But string theory might be the best bet for that.
So, okay, so wait, string theory, like, how does it like necessarily sort of like when we're trying to unify like general relativity, or actually, wait, can you clear up like an issue for me? Because like, is special relativity like, does that sort of explain or describe like gravity? I mean, like general
Yes, it
relativity
does.
sort of.
Relativity explains gravity, so gravitational theory. But special relativity has to do with light and how fast light moves, and
Yeah, I got it
the
opposite.
fact that there's time dilation.
Okay.
But yeah, string theory tries to connect relativity with gravity with quantum mechanics by implementing strings that vibrate on one-dimensional strings or two-dimensional strings that vibrate, and the different vibrations give rise to different particles and give rise to different fundamental forces. So we can meld particle physics with relativity and gravity together into one unified theory that explains everything. And we're just beginning, right, to understand string theory, but that's just one of the explanations that are possible. There's lots of flaws in it, but
Do you think like when we bring up something like string theory, right? Do you think it's something that's gonna be like irreducibly complex to sort of like sort of denote or understand like the most fundamental part of like the universe? Because like if you consider these strings, right, do you not think there is gonna be some sort of like
Yeah, we don't think
ex
about we don't talk about particles in quantum mechanics. The particles don't exist. Particles
oh,
aren't
in terms of strings,
particles.
I mean.
Yeah, particles are not even real things, right? They're just approximations.
Oh, because of like the
Strings, strings. We think of strings as like objects, but those aren't even objects. This is the biggest mystery in probably in the universe is
Mhm.
what the hell is stuff made of? We don't know. Um,
Yeah.
we don't know the fundamentals of what stuff is. It could be, I think, a culmination of all the fields and all the fields of the universe together. But we don't know, fundamentally speaking, what stuff is. We just don't know it. That's a very big
Mhm.
question.
Do you think yeah, so that's what I kind of meant. Like, do you think it's gonna be something irreducibly sort of like complex to understand, or do you think we're gonna get to like a sort of
I don't
explanation?
know. I don't know. It's a very
Mhm.
strange question, but I don't know.
So what about like when you said that within quantum physics particles don't exist? So my understanding like even if we have like all the variables, right? Even if we had like knowledge of like absolutes in terms of like these sort of variables, there's still gonna be like some sort of like improbability sort of like we're gonna have to still make a probabilistic estimation about these sort of particles because of like the uncertainty sort of factor there.
Everything's probabilistic in quantum. Everything's probabilistic. We can never determine where. In fact, that's the nature of the universe. You can never really predict with
So
any great good certainty where something will be. It's always probabilistic,
well
and it's
well
just that's just the way the universe operates quantum mechanically.
yeah, well, like that's what I'm. So my confusion is like, why do these sort of things like? Because like when we're talking about on a macro scale, right? Like we can to a good sort of like margin of error, we can sort of like estimate or make predictions when we have these variables. So when we consider like quantum mechanics, like why is that like a sort of change in dynamic sort of present there? That's what I don't get.
Yeah, it seems to be, why is this difference between the classical world, the macro world, and the quantum mechanical world? Why is there?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it seems to be that I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to put it in words, but it's just the fact that on the macro world, you have a bunch of these fields kind of assembling into one thing. It's kind of hard to describe without diagrams, but the wave
Yeah.
functions kind of assimilate.
Oh, s-
When entanglement happens, things assimilate into the same wave function, and
Mhm.
it's kind of like a wave in the ocean that's moving in the ocean. They kind
Like
of
combines.
Yeah, they kind of combine together, and that's why it seems like on the macro world we have solid things because we're just big waves. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but on the smaller scales, there's all kinds of possibilities for these waves to break apart and
Yeah.
decohere from their environments. So it's very difficult to explain. I don't even know. I'm not even a physicist, so I can't even speak too much about this more. But that's
Mm-hmm.
essentially what I think is the case.
All right. Final question. When we consider like when people like, oh, AI is gonna like take over and stuff, like to me, like I hear this, but like I just don't really think that we have anything that's like conclusive that can sort of like describe how AI, like it could just be a dead end. Like it could just be like we won't be able to represent consciousness through this sort of like vector, right? Through these sort of like language models. Like it could just be a dead end. So like what do you think about that? Like do you think there's anything like that can demonstrate
Well,
that consciousness?
yeah. Well, consciousness seems to be biological, not
Yeah, that's
purely
right.
linguistic, right? Um, there seems to be some kind of cellular activity that gives rise to consciousness. It's
Mm-hmm.
not just the sheer fact that we are language models and the brains resemble language models. That's just a part of it. But the bigger part of it, I think, is the biological aspect to it. But if we can replicate that, then of course we can replicate consciousness. I think that consciousness doesn't seem to be some magical thing. I think if you have the right configuration, the right particle, the right stuff there, you can get consciousness and represent and do it. Furthermore, I think that fundamentally all we're made of what gives rise to our consciousness seems to be just particles. And
Matter.
matter in certain configurations. So imagine if we were able to emulate consciousness in a digital way, right? It's possible that we might be able to digitally do it, because I mean, consciousness seems to be electrical or bioelectrical in a way. So if we can make it digitally the case that consciousness would arise, then we can do that. But we don't know for sure. This is speculation.
Yeah, for
But,
sure. Yeah.
but the answer is, I think it's possible to replicate consciousness, but we're not the only types of consciousness. There's different mediums of consciousness, I think.
Well, doesn't that depend on like how you're defining consciousness? Like, well, like some certain
Yeah.
things can replicate or like emulate like the sort of effects or things that we can observe about consciousness, but like the actual self-awareness in the same way that we have it, like that's what I'm sort of like.
Yeah,
If
I
you-
agree. I think that's what I mean by self-awareness is consciousness, and I think that can be replicated for sure.
Mhm.
And
That's
not just a biological platform. It could also be
Yeah.
replicated on a digital platform, I think.
Mhm.
But it won't be the same consciousness as we have, right? Our type of consciousness, it will always be unique, always.
So, all right, I've got two final questions. So right now, if we made like a full sort of like copy of like a brain, and we like sort of like perfectly sort of translated all the sort of like bioelectrical sort of factors into like a sort of clone, right? Do you think that would give rise to consciousness?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're gonna be able to do that like in a certain amount of time. Like we're gonna like sort of get to that
I'm
point.
actually making a video on my main channel. I'm making a series in this over the weekend about robotics and AI and sentient robots.
Yeah, I'll watch that for sure. And all final question: are you a compatibilist or like do you just hold to this like? You're-
Compatibilism is ridiculous to me. I'm a hard determinist.
You're hard to. So what sort of like led you to conclude that you should be a hard determinist?
Relativity. I mean, for one, B theory of time, I think it holds true. I think that time necessarily does not change, or we cannot change time. Also, neuroscientifically, I don't think that we have the ability to really. I think what we're really doing is reacting to things most and foremost. I think that we're not really really as conscious as we think you are when we make decisions. In fact, we study the brain and find that the brain is activated seconds before we even are aware of our decisions. And also, I think that there's no such thing as the self intrinsically. I think the self is something that of an illusion. And when we say do we have free will? Who is we? What is I? Right? What do you mean by I? Because if we break it down, we're just particles. So what gives rise to, where's the me? Where's the me-ness in the universe?
Yeah.
There is no me. I think that the self is an illusion to some degree. So for those reasons, I think
Alright.
evil is nonsense.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. All right, Mike, have a good life. I appreciate the conversation. I'll go watch that series.
Thank you.
So, what is the ontological primary reason for my wife and kids leaving me?
I thought you were the real guy, man.
No, I apologize. I apologize. So I appreciate the vegan debates that you do. And it's really hard to come up with an argument against veganism. But I think I have an argument against veganism. I think I have one. Would you like to hear it?
Okay.
So, premise one, hunting is extremely adept at animal conservation and maintaining the ecological order in the natural world. Premise two, because of this, hunting is actually good. It's a net utility for hunting. Premise three, eating the meat provides a net utility to human beings to allow us to have calorical intake.
Okay.
Conclusion, hunting animals for meat is a net utility good because it provides a net utility to nature and to the individual eating the meat. So hunting is actually good, and eating meat is good when you're hunting.
Okay. Yeah. So obviously, many vegans would disagree with the first premise that hunting somehow is conservation. I think many vegans would disagree with that. But also, this doesn't really even attack veganism on its own, because veganism doesn't necessarily say that any animal death is bad. What we're saying is viewing animals as objects is bad. We want animals to have rights as we do.
Right.
So, in fact, some vegans might think erasing invasive species is okay, and I would even agree that erasing invasive species would have a net utility increase, of course, but that still wouldn't mean that we should not have animals. We should not give animals rights, right? That's the first and foremost principle of veganism. Animals deserve rights as humans do, and just as we would, get rid of some people that were invasive, right? If somebody was going to my house and trying to kill me or trying to take away my food or crops, I would do what I can to get rid of that person too, right? I would kill that person too. So that is compatible within veganism. Also, hunting would not be necessary in many cases. I think that a vegan would say, instead of hunting an animal, let's exhaust all non-fatal options before. Let's do contraceptives or fencing or urban development practice changes, right? Anything we can to reduce our population, instead of just taking a shotgun and shooting them like barbarians. Let's do the best we can to reduce populations without necessarily killing them. And instead of killing and shooting deer, let's attack the root issue, which is humans making poor development practices, right? We have lots of low-lying areas with lit shrubs where people love to, deer love to reside by. The point is that, the first premise, I think I would disagree with because of those reasons.
Okay. Well, the only thing that would go by is because if I had internet in my computer, I would pull up some sources that show that like animal conservation with hunting is actually pretty adept. Sadly, I don't have internet with my computer, so I couldn't really necessarily give you a source. But to be fair, it might be that those sources are biased towards like hunting.
Yeah. So Mob, he did give a formal argument. It was actually invalid though, because it was a question begging, but
Well, as you can
Yeah.
see, my profile picture is Darth Dawkins, so I am the pro at question banging. And it's a true dichotomy. It's obvious. Yeah, well, I think you kind of just blew up my argument, so I don't really know what else to say. But appreciate the lives, Mike. Sorry for trolling you guys, Darth, but I'll hop out.
I really thought that was Darth Dawkins, guys. I really did. I was like, yes, let's get him in here. Anyway, what time is it? Am I a science guy? Of course I am. I love science. It's one of my passions. If I could learn all day long, I would choose that over anything. I love learning. Makes me happy. What was the argument? Well, his first premise was hunting is good. His conclusion was hunting is good. No, it was more elaborate than that. But look, he was trying to say that hunting has utility to it, and I explained to him the deontics behind veganism. I explained that utility does not necessarily mean it aligns within veganism or better. Okay. Yeah, school stinks for sure. Yes, school's terrible, but however, learning is great. We're getting more people in here. Is science my job? No. Thank you, Shrimp. What do I think about clones? Look, I think cloning people is unethical. But more importantly, I think that it's going to be unnecessary. Look, guys, in the next 10 years, we're going to have, in the next 15, 20 years, we're going to have robotics replace us. We're not going to be useful 20 years from now, guys. Like, human beings will no longer be useful because of robotics. Also, we're going to have age reversal. There's no need to clone yourself when you could just stop you from aging. Look, a lot of ideas, like, these are old ideas of the future, right? Like, people like 100 years ago thought that, oh, cloning and flying cars, like, people of the past thought that was going to be the future, but now we know, like, now, like, things changed. Things have changed since 100 years ago, and just things we thought had utility back then no longer do. Flying cars, yeah, but not in the way people think they do, right? People thought that cars would fly, like the ones we drive in today. That's not going to happen ever. Can we have a discussion?
Hello.
Hi.
How's your day?
Good.
Yeah, I just want to have a discussion on the dichotomy of veganism and your belief of veganism as objectively more moral.
I don't believe that.
Well, then, can you please articulate your beliefs and why, for example, I should be a vegan?
I don't believe in any objective morals, but
Oh yeah, objective morality doesn't exist, but yeah.
Yeah, look, what's your question? What is your point?
Yeah, why should I be vegan?
Well, look, people ask this all the time, like, why should I be vegan? Well, there's no way I'm gonna just say. There's nothing I can tell you. You could, like, oh, okay. All of a sudden, you're gonna become vegan. It's something that you have to decide. All I
Yeah.
can do is influence you to change, but I can't just turn you into a vegan right now,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I'm not expecting
So,
you to you
okay,
know
but the point
change
is,
my
like,
belief
the point is,
system.
like, for example, if let's say I was I was anti-murder, right?
Mhm.
And then here comes along Jeffrey Dahmer, and then Jeffrey Dahmer asked me, convince me to stop murdering, or convince me that murdering is bad. It's never going to work, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So there's no single argument that's going to just go, okay, veganism is logically sound and correct. No.
I mean, I guess
It's-
that applies to
when
most
we
arguments,
debate
though.
veganism, it's an internal critique of your own ethics. So you have to do the work and ask yourself these questions. Why should you be vegan? All I can do is ask these questions and get them out of you. But the reason why I'm vegan is because I don't want to harm animals that I don't have to, and I think that animals deserve rights as humans do. They're not
Okay.
different. We're not different from them in any morally relevant way, and that's why I think that they deserve rights just as we do.
Well, I guess my response to that would be that within modern day farming practices, there's about as much blood in soybeans as there is a steak. I mean, both. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
think of all the mammals, like the small rodents that gets killed in modern day farming practices. Like there's gonna be either way. There's gonna be death from animals, either with whether you're consuming a purely vegan diet or a purely
yeah. So
plant-
do you have any empirics that demonstrate that more animals die for crop fields than animal agriculture?
uh. It wouldn't take me very long to find a statistic, but then I would have to like pause the live, and then the conversation would be dead, wouldn't it? So
Yeah, and unfortunately, you're wrong though, because 70% of crops in the world are grown for animal agriculture. So there's no way in hell that vegans are causing more harm. Secondly, most soybeans. Do you know what percent of soybeans are grown for humans?
no, I do not.
It's
And
about 9%.
at 70%,
It's about
thinking of
9%.
American, first of all, in response to the 70% of crops are grown for animal uses. That's mostly American
It's
crops.
around the world. It's around the world. 70% of crops around the world are grown for animals, and 9% of soybeans are grown for humans. So
90% of soybeans are grown for humans, right?
9 with his
9. Oh,
9,
sorry, I
not
misheard you.
99, right? So the vast majority of animal eaters are producing soy, not vegans. So you're causing way more, empirically, you're causing way more destruction. And we have studies on this which demonstrate vegans use less land, 77% less land to grow the same food for humans. So yeah, you're just categorically wrong here.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm categorically wrong because either way, even looking at the vegan crop, even looking at the soy crops that are meant for human agriculture, human purposes, they're still doing the exact same practices. They're still yielding the same result, and they're still both killing animals in fields.
Yeah, so
So
veganism does not mean that no animals ever can die. That's not what veganism means, right?
no, but according to your reasons why, like you're personally vegan, it's because you believe that animals deserve rights and and you want to
Yeah, they
preserve
deserve rights, but
and
they
you
don't
want to
they don't
preserve
have the
animals.
right.
But
Animals deserve rights, but they don't have the right to impede on my life, right? So for example, if there was a person in my house trying to attack me or trying to steal my crops, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to go there and harm them if I have to, right? I'll do whatever it takes to get that person out of my property and off my crop fields, right?
yes,
Okay. The same applies to to the animals. If an animal, if a cow, if a mouse or a bird is trying to attack my crops and steal my food, I'm going to put pesticides there to get rid of that bastard because I got to eat something, right? So
for
vegans
my
don't
response to
so
that
we
would
don't see
be
crop field deaths as bad or wrong because that's us protecting our property.
yeah. So my response to that would be instead of if you had a crop, if you had a field in which you had to kill dozens and dozens of or dozens and dozens of animals to sustain that field, to sustain that crop, would it be more ethical to just kill one animal, if raise a pig or a cow, and then and then harm that one organism?
Again, it depends on your view of your normative theory of ethics. That would be utilitarian wise better, of course, but from a deontics perspective, no, because again, we think animals deserve rights not to be harmed if they don't have to be harmed. It's not just about utilitarian. It's not about utility, right? It's also about, hey, it's about the principles, the duties that we are obligated to follow, which is uphold animal rights as much as we can. But also, if we were to take that scenario with, I only kill one cow a year or one horse a year. Well, imagine doing this for 8 billion people. That's 8 billion animals that would have to die, right? That's way more than, the crop fields, the animals die from crop fields. So it's like you scale that up, it's not going to work. Number
I
two.
mean, but that's also just that again, at that point, kind of ties into kind of a Western culture thing, where Americans, the world can't afford to consume like Americans do. Uh, if globally, if globally everyone consumed the amount of animal products
I
that
understand. I
Americans
understand. I
did,
understand.
so again, a lot of these people, they're kind of we're arguing from a Western perspective here, so it's a little
Right, but you're
bit.
forgetting. But first of all, you're forgetting the infrastructure that would have to be developed to feed billions of people on one animal. Right? They would have to be fed food. Those take crops. Some parts of the world they don't have grasses all year round. They die in the winter, so we would have to import grass to certain areas. It would be still another catastrophe. It would
So
still
then,
be worse,
well
globally
then,
speaking, to do
uh,
that.
what about fishing then? I guess that would be my response to that. If
Fishing is
if
still even worse than that because now
how
you're
so?
you're destroying the oceans, which are precious. We are destroying the oceans for many reasons, full of microplastics. We're stripping away the oceans of fish, predators. The A lot of the coral reefs are being bleached away, and the habitats are dying because of fishing.
Well, there's sustainable. What about sustainable fish farms that can yield fish without taking away from its natural habitat or stripping
Okay, great. Then we
ocean
then we go
resources?
back to our Deontay principles of veganism. Look, if we had dogs that were being farmed, would that be okay to you?
Yeah,
Okay, what if we farm people like fish? Would that be okay to you?
I mean, no, because they're people.
Exactly, right? That's the point. I don't want to farm any living sentient being. I don't want to farm them. I want to let them be, right? As much as I can.
Well, you equating a dog to a human is a little bit disingenuous, but
I'm
I
not
understand.
I'm not equating us to dogs. I'm saying that ethically speaking, we're the same. Ethically. There's no distinction ethically. Not totally. Of course there's differences. Of course I'm smarter than the dog.
No,
But
but no,
ethically
but
speaking,
ethically,
we're the
there's
same.
a reason why if I was to kill a dog right now, it'd be significantly different than if I was to kill a man right now. Ethically, they're on different levels. One is an animal, one is a human.
I agree, but the point is that to me, there's no reason that would justify going out of my way to harm a dog or harm a fish.
I mean, you're not going out of
When
your way. It's not like
the-
you get a sick kick out of farming. You're farming them to yield food.
right, but you can farm plants and eat your food that way, right? You don't have to farm animals who are sentient. They don't want to be farmed. Neither do we. So
No,
to me, I
crops
give
don't want
fish.
to be harvested.
Look,
Plants don't
I
want to be
think fish
harvested.
and dogs and all other animals should be given enough consideration morally. I see sufficient value in their being to not want to farm them. That's all it means to be vegan. It doesn't mean the degrees of value are irrelevant, right? I might value fish way more than a person. I might value a fish equal to a person as a vegan. I might value a fish a little bit less than a person as a vegan. But the point is that there's sufficient value in a fish or a dog or a cow to not want to farm them. Period.
Okay. Well, I do respect your belief system, and I do respect veganism in general, because well, many more members of my family are vegan, and I respect what y'all do. So uh, it's getting late for me. Uh, Thank you for having me up here. I appreciate it, and
Yeah.
yeah. I hope you have a nice day or a nice night wherever you are.
Thank you. You too.